Making films wasn't a hobby with me, it was a need. I had this need to do it. I don't know where it came from, really. It was just a drive. I couldn't content myself if I wasn't making a film. And my whole year was really centered around shooting one or two features. I was trying to teach at the same time. I was trying to work at the same time. And prior to that, I was at school and I was doing exams, all these sort of things, and they were all just a nuisance. They were getting in the way of me making movies. The whole it was very much a one man show. That sounds big headed to say, but it's not meant to be. It's just a fact. Because other people had their own lives to lead, and they weren't as involved or as obsessed with it as I was. So I had to talk people in to helping and doing things, and a lot of them a lot of them did so quite reluctantly. I used reversal film, which meant that the film that went through the camera was the one you actually projected. That's what you ended up with. You didn't get a second chance with that. But because I was doing a lot of day for night stuff and a lot of underexposed stuff and special effects work, I had to get the exposure right. Another problem was the noise of the camera. It was a big clockwork motor. And if you're trying to record live sound, the noise of the camera was like a tractor going in the background. So I built this blimp. It was like a box lined with lead and rubber and all sorts of stuff. And I put the camera inside it and I cut a hole in the back where I could get my eye through and look through, and the glass front, all these things to try to cut down the noise of the camera. But really, shooting film at that time was really difficult. And I was trying to do it all myself. I was trying to set the lights up. I was getting a camera set up, trying to rehearse the actors. I had a big reel-to-reel tape recorder with a homemade synchronizer on it, connected up to the camera to try to get pulses, to get the lip sync sound. I was trying to get the camera blimped. I mean, it was an impossibility, honestly. People say to me, you're pretty well known for trying to do special effects. The only thing special about them was I never got them shot at all. I often thought, when I get this finished, it's going to be great. Never was. There was always sort of almost like a depression after it. Can't explain that, but after a few weeks, the depression would lift, and I could look at the film more sort of objectively. But at the time, it was all doom and gloom and misery. And you may well ask, why did you do it? The truth is, and I've said this to other people, I was miserable when I was doing it, but I was even more miserable if I wasn't doing it. So it was a lesser of two evils. No, the greatest thing ever I did, as regards time, as regards efficiency, was building my own little studio. It's across the garden. It's now my cinema. So instead of borrowing somebody's bar, I could build my own little bar. Instead of saying to somebody, I want a corner of your cafe, I could build my own cafe and take as much time as I want. And you could leave your lights and camera, everything set up, which is absolutely wonderful. For once, I was starting to find filmmaking was enjoyable. I tried in the early days to make the black and white sort of German-inspired films, and I tried a lot of black and white photography. Critics said my films were black and white with no white, because they all tend to be very, very dark, both dark in content and dark in exposure. I think actually Coming of the Black Dawn is one of my earlier films that works best. It and The Testament of Caleb Meek. Coming of Black Dawn has got some nice images because I was very much influenced by Caligari and Nosferatu, the early German stuff, and I was trying to get that black and white contrast. And I think the mood does work quite well in Coming of Black Dawn when the two figures are moving through the graveyard. You'll rob the grave at the start. I judge the success of my films by how much I have to apologise for them. And I don't feel I have to apologise for Coming of Black Dawn as much as I do have to apologise for some of the other ones. So that's a measure of success. I used to get a lot of criticism that my films were always set in either space or America or some far-flung region. People said, why don't you do a film set in Ireland, a local film? So I come up with the idea for Brady's Bargain, which is sort of a never Irish, stage Irish sort of thing. But it was good fun to do. I wanted a little Irish cottage, And it's surprising just how few little Irish cottages there are, and also wanted lit at night, which would be difficult to find the cottage and then drag lights and so forth. So I decided the best thing was just to make a model. So I built a model cottage out of cardboard and the usual, sprinkled it with sand to give a textured feeling. I think I used moss or straw or something for the thatch, but it worked quite well. And then I lit it low as always, because the darkness hides a lot of flaws and faults. There's a spider's web shot in it. I made the spider's web, I made a cardboard frame, and then it just took quite a bit of time. I just laced string across, I backlit it so that you got the effect coming through the web. I think that helped it. As regards the actual leprechaun, it was done several different ways. There was quite a lot of mat work in it. I also built a full-size jar. I got a big sheet of Perspex. I filmed this in the gym of a school, and I needed to get very, very far back to get it small enough. And then I forced some perspective, all sorts of, any trick I could think of. I think it might even been a couple of mirror shots on it too.
Now, poor as a beggar. No, you're going to make me rich, me little man.
Keep Watching Your Skies. It was done with tissues and over a hand, and then painted with latex. A few, and then dried with a hairdryer and let it dry in another coat of latex. And that's how it was done. Then I put the odd pipe cleaner in it and make it veiny, and more latex, and then just painted it. I went down one Sunday and started to film in Cumbria Bypass, because it was on the wrong side of the road, And one of the members of the public took exception to it. He stopped and says, "Have you permission to do this?" And I says, "Yes, I have." "Well, I'm going down there to the police station to check and all." I says, "Boys, let's get this filmed quickly." Let's get it filmed quickly. On top of that, all that worry, I'm always worrying about the weather as well, because I wanted the sunny, for America. So one eye was looking for the police coming, the other eye was looking up to see the rain was coming. The Trizian Exiles, it probably has more flaws and faults than any film I've done, some massive flaws in it. The aliens in the Trizian Exiles were just people with white tights. Then I got sheepskin rugs. The whole rage that time was sheepskin rugs on your floor. And I lifted the sheepskin rugs off my own floor, and they just stitched them round, one in the front and one at the back, and the hair, of course, is made of the old papier-mâché with the balloon thing again, to form a head and the two eyes. In fact, the aliens I made way back at that stage became sort of fashionable later on when the whole flying saucer thing came out, and they're making these aliens with the black eyes. But I can boast to a certain extent that I was doing those way before that. But a lot of things were wrong. This guy had put on bright blue underpants beneath the long johns. I hadn't really noticed at the time. I'm always so involved getting the exposure right and getting the lights and that I never actually notice what the actors are doing. They're sort of left to wing it by themselves. Half a dozen of the dark scene, of the back scenes, you could see these blue underpants. And because of the blue underpants, I had to insist from now on that they wear white underpants, not blue ones. That was one of the mistakes. The Drumlin was based on... I used to love the poem, The Pied Piper of Hamelin, and I was teaching at the time. It was in an estate, and it must have been a Sunday or something, but the estate was empty. And then I thought of the Pied Piper, the children were all gone. I thought there's a story here. So in the film, I call the place they live Nilima, which is Hamelin spelled backwards. Little things like that. The big robot in that was influenced by one of my favourite films, The Colossus of New York. But that was it. But it was quite impressive because when it was fully built, it was about 8 feet tall, because the shoulders and head and all went on top. I think my brother, once again, he got roped in for everything. I think Noel played the alien. Getting the children to perform and behave in the room was a matter of terror. I had them terrorised. What would happen to them if they didn't? But it seemed to work. And then I think the scene on the beach where it shimmers and all the children disappear and you're left with an empty beach, thought that worked quite well. Using exactly the same technique. I had the old premise down, somebody holding the premise under the lens, but it worked quite well. The robot in Specimens, it was a full-size bodysuit. Actually, my brother and Noel wore it. The actual aliens themselves, the heads were just built the usual thing over a balloon, blew a balloon up, covered it with papier-mâché, and made the head. And then the face was built up with usual way with cotton wool and wallpaper paste and eventually latex over the top, built the cheekbones up. It takes a while to do, and you need patient actors because they get fed up sitting there and they want to go to the toilet and they're hungry and they want to drink and they want to smoke or something. And I say, there's another half hour I'll do it, try to get the thing done. But everything was done the hard way. There was never an easy way to do these things.
None of the guys will ever think of Whitewoods. Anyhow, most of them haven't even got a car.
The scenes where the two teenagers are driving in the car was shot in my garage. The car wasn't moving at all. I turned the bicycle upside down and I tied black rags to the wheel, and then I lit through that, and then as I turned the pedals of the bike, the wheel obviously revolved, and you got black shadows. The ghost town in Specimens was all cardboard houses. And I remember I really enjoyed making those. I made them out of shredded wheat boxes, and Brillo boxes. But then I really went mad with the sand and ashes. They all looked like dusty and windswept, and it worked quite well. It's a wonderful compliment to me if somebody says that looks real. But the worst compliment of all, if somebody says your models look good, because they weren't meant to know they were models, you see.
The letters. Tilt one side up a bit. Oh, come on, Roger. That's a bit corny. Attack of the Saucer People.
Attack of the Saucer People was one I actually enjoy myself, because I laugh at parts of it myself. It was really a comedy based on personal experience. It is autobiographical in many ways. I think that's why I enjoy it.
Now, Dorian, this is a tick. You're hanging out the washing, and you hear a spacecraft coming over, right?
Right.
Now, I want to take the sound readings, the letters, okay? Oh, good.
I laugh when the wife raps the window and says, "Are you finished? Are you nearly finished yet?" And poor Roger says, "Finished? I haven't even started."
Oh, for God's sake,
Have you
can't get
finished
things done.
yet? Have you finished
Finished?
yet?
I haven't even got started.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So a lot of things that had happened to me for real life, so that's how I enjoy it. All the fireside critics criticising the thing, they've never shot anything themselves, and the guy starts a lawnmower up and you're about to record sound. All these things, Roger says to Drone now, just come on old clothes woman to give it a natural look, you see, and she says, "Okay, Roger," and then she arrives with a fur coat and all dressed up. That just happened to me. I still laugh at parts of myself because it stings,
It'll take me a minute before we really get started.
I definitely said I would pick her up.
Definitely get the locus right.
I've been lucky, I suppose, or grew up at the right time. Probably wouldn't get away with anything nowadays, but when I grew up through the 60s and 70s, there was a competition called the 10 Best. It was a worldwide competition, and you were up against a lot of big hitters. But I hope I'm not boasting when I say, it's not boasting, it's a fact, that I was the most successful filmmaker in that of all time, because I actually won 10 Bests, and 3 of them are number ones. 3 first in the 10 Best, so it's quite a record. I'm proud of it, not as much for my own sake as for Northern Ireland's sake, because we're a small country, and at that time a lot of people weren't making films, and a lot of American stuff was coming, a lot of continental stuff now was coming in, and of course all the British stuff was all, it was a big competition. There were 400 or 500 entries every year for it. We used to go over to the National Film Theatre each year to get your award at the National Film Theatre, and I met quite a few stars. I didn't vie as much as I should have, I suppose. I threw all my awards out. I threw all my 10 Best. I got a little trophy. I threw them all out. Just thought, at one stage, I got a bit sort of not depressed, but just cynical, I suppose, and I thought, that's all in the past, forget about it, look forward, and I threw them all in the bin. I sort of regret it now, but that's the way it goes. But it's well documented. I mean, they have did all these wars. In case you think I'm telling you a lot of lies. I was never interested in doing filmmaking as a career. I might be nowadays, you know, if I was a young man nowadays, I might be. But at that time, there wasn't really opportunity here in Northern Ireland. There probably would have been if I'd gone to London or somewhere. But I love Cumber and I love Northern Ireland. You can't get me out of Cumber, you know, so there's no way I was going to sacrifice the joys and the delights of Cumber for some dump like London, you know. So I was never attracted to that. And also, I loved the freedom of being independent and doing exactly what I wanted. It wasn't a pleasure, or it wasn't a hobby. It certainly wasn't a hobby. It was more than a hobby. It was a burning desire. I suppose it's a kind of an ego trip in some ways, or a kind of selfishness almost. But I like to do what I want and shit what I want, you know, and call the shots. It is an ego trip, isn't it? It's terrible, but it's true.